What is up, guys and gals? Welcome to the Quest Podcast. I'm your host, Dark Optimus, and tonight we are going to have a lot of fun. Introducing our first guest. He's my nemesis. I don't know why he's here tonight. No, I'm just kidding. He is Magic Mike.
Hey, what's up? It's a pleasure to be here on the Quest podcast. This is Magic Mike dancing my way into everybody's heart, so get those Benjamins ready and make it rain.
Hell yeah, man. Introducing our second guest of the evening. He's on TXR podcast. He has his own channel. He is Maka 91. What is up, Maka?
Yo, what's up? I was going to say something cool, but I can't follow that up. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure, man. To get into the panel members, what's up, M. Baines?
What's up, everybody? You know who it is. Ready for another great show.
And he's our Thunder from Down Under, Tim Ados. What is up, Tim?
Man, if I could just make like a lightning sound, that'd be awesome, but I don't know how to do that. What's up, everybody?
Sure.
Got a good show for you tonight.
Yeah, definitely. So, what games have you guys been playing this week?
I don't know.
Thoroughly disappointed by Mass Effect Andromeda.
Oh,
Very controversial, I know, but I think it's terrible online. Now I haven't played it much in single player, so my commentary is limited to my online experiences. But it's like so average, and there's so many games that do so many things better, and the controls are so unfluid and unresponsive, and it's just so average. And that's been my week pretty much. Just
Man,
triggering people.
you're in the minority on this podcast right now, I think, because a lot of us are loving it, man.
Hey, if I have to go against the grain, again, my commentary is all on that multiplayer. It's just not good enough for me, at least. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
See, now I think we'll complement each other nicely on that because I haven't played any of the multiplayer yet, but I've been really digging the single player so far.
that's where I'm
So we'll get a lot of both sides there. But yeah, that's been my week. It's been all Mass Effect. I mean, that's ever since it came out, I've been playing that. Before it came out, I was finishing up Mass Effect 3. Literally at 12:01 a.m. on Tuesday when Mass Effect Andromeda unlocked, I was finishing up the final mission in Mass Effect 3 so that I could get ready for it. So that's been my week.
Nice. Baines, what have you been playing, man?
Before Mass Effect dropped, I was playing a little bit more of Neo, slowly progressing through that game. Playing some Witcher. Oh, still loving it. Playing some Witcher 3 Blood and Wine. Still going through that slowly. And then ever since Mass Effect dropped, it's been all Mass Effect. And I'm kind of the opposite of Maka too. I haven't touched the multiplayer at all. I've played only the single player. I guess we'll talk a little bit more about that later.
Yeah, definitely. Tim?
I've been all over the place this week since Mass Effect dropped a little later for me than everybody else. I was starting up Quantum Break before Mass Effect came out. Got me some good campaign action. That's surprisingly good. I'm surprised it didn't do as better. Played some Gears of War 4, as always. Been playing Resident Evil 5 with my boy Scrotum. Going through that on co-op after getting that $20 bundle.
Oh, yeah. It was like...
How nice you got it when it had the pricing error.
Like a day, wasn't it?
Yeah, it went
They
down.
brought it back.
And then
They brought it back
from the dead.
Oh, wow.
They shot in my head again.
Dang. All right.
Yeah, and then obviously been playing Mass Effect. Been playing both the campaign and the multiplayer, so...
Nice.
Yeah,
I've been playing some Horizon Zero Dawn, trying to finish that up. Definitely played some Gears on community game time, and then been mostly just playing Mass Effect. I jumped into the multiplayer a little bit here and there when the trial was up, but I've been mostly playing the single player campaign since it launched. So it's a fun game. Now we know what Maka's impressions are on the Mass Effect Andromeda, but What do you guys think of Mass Effect Andromeda?
I've been loving it so far. The campaign, at least. I'm a huge fan of the Mass Effect trilogy. The first Mass Effect. I mean, that to me was one of the titles that really blew me away on the last generation when it came out. And I know the first one is not as popular as Mass Effect 2. Mass Effect 2, I'd say, is probably the pinnacle of the series. But I'm just a big fan of the trilogy overall, and the Andromeda. It's so different, but it also feels like it's kind of going a little bit back to the roots of Mass Effect 1. It's got a lot more RPG heavy elements into it, which I really love RPGs. So I mean, so far I'm loving it, and the game's been beautiful. I mean, there have been moments here and there, like I think everybody can agree the facial animations aren't the best, but that's what happens when they're handmade instead of mocapped. And Tim, you were playing Quantum Break, so I mean, I know that game got a lot of shit for its faces, and I mean, go back and play Quantum Break after playing Mass Effect Andromeda, and Quantum Break's animations look beautiful. But that's besides the point. The gameplay in Mass Effect, I feel, is spot on, and I've been loving every minute. I can't wait to go back and play it again. And that to me is what makes a game a success, is when you put the game down, you wake up the next day, you go to work, and all you think about while you're at work is getting home so you can play that game again.
Right. Yeah. I definitely am enjoying it. I think it's a lot of fun. I do see where people are coming from with the facial animations and things like that, but I haven't had too many problems on my end, because that kind of stuff doesn't really bother me. I think the worlds are really beautiful. I think the combat is definitely very tight and responsive, and I really enjoyed that. I think from the original trilogy, the combat was kind of wonky at times, but with this, they definitely, I feel like they focused more on the combat than they did on the facial animations, the writing. I do have qualms with the writing. I think there are some points where there is some soap opera type of things going on there, but the banter back and forth, like yesterday I was just riding through Vold, I think it's called, the ice planet, and it definitely, the banter back and forth between PB and the Angaria, I forgot his name. Don't really know the names yet too much. But him and her were going back and forth, bantering back and forth, and it was actually pretty cool. It was actually pretty fun. But other than that, I mean, I think the game is pretty fantastic. The gameplay, is spot on. At this point, I think I wait a little bit more to give it a full on kind of review or anything like that, but so far I've been enjoying it for sure.
Yeah, me myself, I'm enjoying the game. I got about 25 hours in, and
Dang.
I found and that's the thing. I've got 25 hours in and only 23% completed. So it's a huge game, and I've been doing a lot of the side missions, and even though some of them are kind of fetch questy, to me they're still interesting. They still capture me, because that one of the main things is because the gameplay is so crisp. I mean, and it is a beautiful looking game, in my opinion. As far as the story, I mean, it starts out kind of slow, but it's reminiscent of, like Mike said, Mass Effect 1. And since I'm only like a month or so removed from the trilogy, I guess it was kind of like a good, bridge for me. So I don't really see a lot of the. I mean, there's technical issues, of course, with the facial animations and things of that nature, but they don't take me out of the immersion of the game. Like Mike said, when I'm done with the game, I'm thinking about the next time when I'm playing, like right now. As soon as we get off this podcast, I'm going back into Mass Effect. So I think they did a real good job. I think they did a real good job with the game. I really think it's going to wind up being a sleeper hit. Like one later on during the year, people look back and say, "Oh, Mass Effect wasn't that bad. It was actually a really good game."
Yeah.
Well, I really hope it gets a Scorpio patch, because I would love to revisit this game on better hardware.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it will. I honestly do. I don't see why I wouldn't get that.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if any AAA games came out this year and didn't get that patch.
Yeah, I mean, I think it will. I mean, EA and Microsoft have a pretty good working relationship, so I can see it getting that. But until they come out and confirm it, it's still up in the air.
Yeah.
Right, because in the beginning they said there was no patch coming for Scorpio, right? I think I heard that.
Well, I think the exact wording they used was that they weren't making a Scorpio specific version, but that's been something that no game is going to have a Scorpio specific version where you're going to buy a different copy of the game than what you would buy on the Xbox One. So I think they're just being very careful about how they're phrasing things so that they don't say anything that's untrue, but at the same time they don't want to give away anything that they're not ready to give out yet.
Right. Okay.
Maka, how did you feel about the game?
Look, it's okay. I'm gonna have an unpopular opinion. That's okay. Sometimes people disagree. I think it's important to try to find someone whose opinion tends to mesh with yours, and it's okay if someone's opinion doesn't necessarily mesh with mine on this game. Again, I haven't played any of the single player. All my experience right now is about 10 hours of multiplayer, and there are too many issues with it that are very important things I look for in games that I just can't get over. I think the movement animations are just not up to par. I think the contextual cover is not a great system. The controls are all over the place. And most importantly, I feel like the controls aren't responsive. And I was sitting around yesterday trying to figure out what it was about the gameplay that didn't resonate with me. And I ended up figuring out that it's the delay between my inputs to what happens on the screen. It's just too long for a game that is trying to be a shooter. I understand it's like an RPG in its own way. And as I've understood, it's less of an RPG than maybe some of the last Mass Effect games. But as a shooter, I don't feel like the gameplay online is tight enough for someone like me who really likes their fast-paced, responsive shooters like Halo 5, and I play a lot of Rainbow Six now. And there's even in third-person games, I just feel like Gears of War 4 Horde mode is a better version of what Mass Effect does online. And I'm playing it with friends and I'm enjoying it. And it's not that it can't be fun. It's just I don't see anything special to it. I don't feel like there's any differentiating factor that makes it a great or good game. It's one of those games that I'm going to forget about in 3 to 4 months. And, I didn't play the first 3 Mass Effects. I'll be the first one to admit that. But I know that the first 3 Mass Effects will be remembered for a very long time. And they did something revolutionary. And this game isn't going to do that. I think it's going to be quickly forgotten. I think in 5 years, no one will really remember it as making a dent into the gaming industry. And, maybe I'll be proven wrong, and that's totally okay. I'm going to be playing the single player over the weekend. Hopefully I can put 20, 25 hours into the single player over the next few days, and maybe that'll be something I enjoy more. A solo experience that's less hardcore and less dependent on shooting and a little more dependent on a story and RPG elements. And maybe that's what I'll need in order to enjoy Mass Effect Andromeda. But for what it is, the online experience isn't quite cutting it for me.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with everything that you said about the gameplay mechanics, especially the cover, this new cover system that they have. I really don't like the cover system. It's taken a lot of getting used to, having come off of the old Mass Effects into this one.
See, I
don't like that cover system.
I like the new cover system because I feel like in the original trilogy, it felt like you were really stuck to the wall when you were playing. Now this one, I feel like in the single player aspect, at least in the single player campaign, I feel like it's tighter than Ghost Recon Wildlands and things like that, because I know they kind of use the same cover system, and it feels smoother than it did in the original trilogy to me. That's just my opinion. But
it is smoother. I mean, the original trilogy was more like a sticky cover system. You would press A in Gears of War to get in the cover, and you would be stuck to that cover until you would have a button prompt to get out of it. So it is a lot more fluid. You don't have to get into that position where you have to press a button prompt to get out of it. But I think, again, coming from the last 3 Mass Effects, like those were the last 3 games that I played coming into this, it's very jarring to get used to that in the cover system. I feel like the sticky cover system was better for this type of gameplay.
Yeah, and at least in my opinion, and this is obviously judging it off of other games and not other Mass Effect games, it's like when I'm sprinting around, they want me to jump and dodge to get out of the way of stuff, and that's fine. But as I'm doing it, the camera is like shaking to try to get me in and out of covers and is trying to scan the map to figure out like what's what. If you dash into stairs, it does this weird thing where the camera like zooms in and out. Like there's like this weird amount of camera shake happening because of the contextual cover, which you hardly end up really using in a lot of the scenarios you're playing online. I don't know how it worked, and obviously I know how it works in Gears of War. For me, I prefer having to press that button and interact with the game to tell the game I am now looking to get into cover, because just walking forward into cover isn't, I don't know, it's just not for me,
It doesn't feel right.
Yeah,
it's unnatural.
When I first went into this game, I didn't appreciate the cover system at all. I still prefer to put myself into cover versus the game doing it for me. But as I've progressed more in the story and gotten to some heated battles, the cover system isn't as bad as I first thought it was. Also using the because you can press in, I think on the I'm playing on the Pro, so it's R3, but you can press to switch to shoulder view.
Yeah.
And so switching to shoulder view, using that contextual cover, I kind of like it in the high action scenes in the game. It's kind of actually helped me a little bit, so I'm getting used to it. Another thing that I don't really like about this one is, as opposed to the trilogy, you could control what your teammates did. Like you could it's almost like their powers or whatever were yours. You can control exactly what they did. In this one, you can't. It's like they're by themselves. You can control where they go, but you can't control their bionic powers or whatever they have. You can't control their systems. And
I didn't like that in the original trilogy anyway, so I never used that at all.
They were much more, to me, they were much more useful then.
Yeah, that's
versus
true.
now.
Yeah. But I also didn't like, upgrading their skills in the original trilogy either. I just had that on automatic. I just couldn't. I was just like, I'm just gonna focus on my character and that's it. So
yeah, I don't like babysitting my squad mates in single player games. I like them to do what they do, and maybe every now and then tell them to go somewhere. Like in Mass Effect, you can send each one off into if you have to defend somewhere, you can put one on the left flank and one on the right flank, and that's helpful. But I don't want to be babysitting them the whole time.
Yeah.
To me, in some situations, in some heated battles, it kind of helped out because I could use such and such singularity to hold this enemy and use such and such throw to make a bionic combo to take him out while still having my own left. And so it just changed up the dynamic. Whereas now they're just kind of doing whatever they do. I don't know. Sometimes they're way over off the screen doing, I don't know what they're doing. And then other times they are really helpful. So
yeah, I actually had a couple of them run in front of me, and I was just like, God, get out of here.
Yeah, that's happened to me a lot. That's one thing that I missed from the original trilogy, was being able to control when your characters, the partner characters that you take with you out on a mission, when they did or didn't use their powers.
Right.
I used that very heavily in the first Mass Effect trilogy, and now playing Andromeda, sometimes I'll be taking a shot at a character at a distance, and one of the other teammates will just all of a sudden teleport in to do a biotic charge or something like that. It's like, oh, okay, now you're blocking my shot. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. Right,
and you're way over there. So what happens if you get put down? I got to try to go way over there to get you.
Right.
I mean, it's just.
Yeah, well, and I feel like controlling the squad added more RPG elements to the game. just because you could kind of stop the action and choose which powers you wanted to get. There was like that freeze motion that would come up when you'd press the bumpers to choose a squad power or anything, and that gave it almost a slight turn-based feel to it, and I missed that in Andromeda.
Right.
Yeah, I can understand that. I mean, but for me, I just never used that stuff. Just whatever to me.
Yeah, I played Dragon Age Inquisition recently, and I think that had a good like compromise. You could hit the back button and go into like a top-down, basically turn-based mode, and in that like way, you could like control which abilities each of your party members used. You could even control the other party members completely.
Yeah.
I feel like that would have been a good like compromise.
I agree. I would have liked to have seen that brought back into this game.
Yeah, I mean, that would have been cool. Any other thoughts on Mass Effect Andromeda, guys?
Save your money and buy something else.
Peter's gonna hate, right?
I'm playing. If it's something you want to play, and don't let me discourage you from playing it.
I think my word of advice is
in mock. Go ahead, Mike.
I was just going to say, anybody out there, if you enjoyed the first 3 Mass Effects, or even if you didn't play the first one, if you enjoyed Mass Effect 2, or if you enjoyed Mass Effect 3, you will enjoy Mass Effect Andromeda, despite all the hate that you're hearing on the internet. If you've never played a Mass Effect game, pay $5 and get a month of EA access, and pay Mass Effect 2 or Mass Effect 3. If you only have a PlayStation, I don't know, see if you can rent it. Either way, it's a good game. It doesn't deserve all the hate that it's getting. There are some issues with it, and hopefully they'll be patched in the future, but I'm still, like I said, enjoying every minute and looking forward to the next time I get to play it.
Right. And Maka, I would be interested to hear what you have to say. I mean, more of how you compare the single player and the multiplayer once you've played the single player, because I don't think the single player is I know the single player isn't as bad as that multiplayer.
Yeah, no, I'm interested to find out too, because I think a lot of the issues I do have with the game are a lot less important in the single player aspect. So it's very possible I'll enjoy that single player, and I'll be playing it over the weekend.
Yeah, the multiplayer definitely had its issues.
Yeah, definitely. Especially with that camera. I mean, the being up on your freaking character like the whole time. It's just like you can't pull back at all. It's just like, I don't really like that aspect about it. But I mean, I had fun with what I played of the multiplayer, but I think single player is always my thing with those kind of games, anyway. So whatever.
And I don't know if it was because I was playing from Australia, but we had quite a few disconnects in the multiplayer.
No, that's not an Australia issue. That's an everybody issue, I think. As far as me and my friends have had those issues too.
Okay, yeah. So Evil Within 2 was rumored. What do you guys think of that?
I'll try it if they remove that fucking letterboxing.
Was it that bad, Tip?
I never played Evil Within 1 because of that.
Oh, they got rid of that a while ago. Right now, you can play without letterboxing. Yeah.
It was patched out, wasn't it?
They patched it out at like 3 or 4 months after it came out.
Oh wow, okay.
It's optional now. It's optional.
Next time it goes on sale, I might pick it up then.
Yeah, I'm actually pretty excited for it because I played Evil Within the first one and I actually really liked it. It did have its bad camera angles, things like that, but it was pretty decent, horror game. It definitely reminded me of the original Resident Evil, and it was a really good start to a new series or new franchise. So for them to say that that Evil Within 2 is coming, hopefully.
Well, I might be wrong, but wasn't the Evil Within that was developed by the guy who developed the first Resident Evil, right? He was like the lead.
Yes.
I really need to play this game. I haven't played it yet because I just wasn't too interested in it at the time it came out. So I'm not overly excited for a sequel, but it's always good when any game gets a sequel, because it just shows you that the games industry is strong enough to support sequels coming out on this new generation. Where I know a lot of people have had some questions about that, because just earlier today there was the GameStop, like they had their quarterly stuff come out, and they had some things happen where they're closing down a lot of stores, and they showed that game sales and game hardware was down. But I think that's just more of a GameStop issue, and that overall gaming is still a very strong industry. So sequels is always a good thing, no matter whether you want it or not.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I haven't played the first one. I'll definitely play it before the second one comes out. I've heard a lot of good things about The Evil Within. When I've watched it being played, I don't really like the movement system. As far as I've seen so far, the player looks kind of rigid. But I'm gonna still go through it in preparation for The Evil Within too.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. When I played Evil Within the first one, I would have bet money that Evil Within 2 would have happened sooner than it's happening. So I think it's good news. It's a great game. The letterboxing was a bit of an issue. I agree. I think that right now, if you do play in letterbox, though, you get like improved visuals or improved frame rates or something. But they patched that out. And if you're a fan of like classic survival horror, The Evil Within is a good game. And, you know, for those who enjoy playing the horror games closer to Halloween, as do I would probably recommend it this Halloween if you haven't gotten it. It goes on sale quite often, The Evil Within 1. So to see The Evil Within 2 being rumored, probably we're going to get some sneak peeks at the Bethesda conference from E3. We'll probably have a release date soon enough. It's exciting.
Definitely.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, the Evil Within Deluxe Edition is like $8.99 or $10 on if you have a PlayStation right now. I don't know what it is on Xbox, but they're having some type of flash sale. So I think I saw it for like $8 or something. So for any
Yeah,
PlayStation, you can pick that
that's
up.
a good price. You should pick it up. I mean, I know
knowing PlayStation,
Xbox,
it's not on sale here.
Maka, you mentioned Bethesda. I didn't realize The Evil Within was a Bethesda game. I assumed it was Capcom.
Unless I got my words twisted. Let me double check.
No, it's
No, I'm probably
he was
wrong,
right.
because I've never done any
It's
research
on
into it.
Bethesda.
It surprised me when you said that. I was like, oh, that's a Bethesda game?
Yeah.
I'm surprised I didn't know that. I just figured since it was from the creator of the first Resident Evil that it must have been Capcom. I didn't know that he was going into other publishers.
Bethesda.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's Bethesda, because I remember even being at the Bethesda conference last year, and I'm like, oh, they're definitely going to announce Evil Within 2 this year, which they didn't. But yeah, as far as I understand, and from everything I know, I guess he took I don't know. Capcom, let's be honest, hasn't made anything worth playing in a very long time other than Resident Evil 7.
Yeah, that's true.
That's
It
very
sounds
true.
so
Yeah.
negative. Trust me, guys. I enjoy games. I play games. I like them. Just some games don't, some companies and some games.
Yeah, I mean, it's understandable because I mean, there's a lot of games out there that just are not that great from some certain companies. Like Capcom used to be a really great company. You go to it for Street Fighter and things like that, and now it's like the only thing they came out with in the past, how many years was Resident Evil 7, and that was freaking phenomenal. And they,
the Dead Rising game.
Don't forget about Street Fighter V. That was the most amazing game of this generation, right?
Oh God, dude. I mean, yeah, I know Dead Rising 4 was. I enjoy it, but it's not my type of game. Like I can't get into those kind of games as much because I don't like the whole breaking. That's my one problem that I have with Zelda is that the breaking of the weapons. I just cannot stand that.
Yeah.
It just bothers me so much.
Yeah, I think it was me and Dave on Scard had a conversation about this yesterday. It's fucking like the worst thing in video games ever is when like your weapons break and you can't repair them.
Yeah, just it takes me out of the game. I can't do that. That's for sure.
I enjoyed Dead Rising 4 for what it was. It's just a hard sell when there was so many other games worth your time. To be like, oh, I know you're playing this, and this, and you've spent a buttload of money already. But there's this one other game you might want to try. Squeeze it in somewhere between all those other games you bought. It's called Dead Rising 4. It's a tough sell.
And then for Resident Evil 7 to come out like a month after Dead Rising 4, that made it really, really tough to get back into that game.
Yeah, definitely. But any other thoughts on Evil Within 2?
I just hope they do something to change it up a little bit.
Cool. What were you gonna say, Tim?
Yeah, I was gonna say I might try the first one before I look into the second one, since they got rid of that letterboxing. It's actually interesting me now.
Definitely, yeah, for sure. So Assassin's Creed Empire was rumored release date. So I think it's October 14th, I think it was. I'm not too sure. Don't quote me on that one. But I'm excited. I absolutely love the Assassin's Creed series, and for them to come back and do one. I was kind of upset that they didn't have one this year, but it's okay because I know Unity was really bad, and well, it wasn't terrible, but it was it had its issues. It had its issues, but the Syndicate was actually pretty good. I actually enjoyed that game. And for them to come back with Assassin's Creed Empire, which is set, I think, in Egypt. So it'll be interesting to see where they take that type of series. What do you guys think?
Oh, I'm totally with you, Optimus. Despite the fact that you're my nemesis, I agree with you. Assassin's Creed, I love all of the Assassin's Creed games. Even Unity, I had an appreciation for what it was trying to do, despite all the glitches that it ran into. And it got patched very heavily within 6 months of it launching. So I didn't buy it when it came out. I bought it when it was on sale, maybe 6 to 8 months afterwards. And I didn't have all the problems that people were talking about when it came out. I wasn't sad that there wasn't an Assassin's Creed offer this year. I felt they needed to take some time off, but because they did take that time off, I'm really excited to see what their next entry is going to be, and I hope they do a good job because, like you said, Syndicate was pretty awesome. So if they can do something better than that, then I'm all for it.
Definitely. I'm like jonesing for another Assassin's Creed. Maka, what do you think?
I think Ubisoft has been killing it recently. Ever since The Division, they've been putting out pretty much great games all the time. So I have a lot of optimism when it comes to the next release of Assassin's Creed. They took the year off they needed. Hopefully that translates into a fantastic game and not just an okay game. From all the stuff that's kind of leaked, the concepts and stuff, it seems like they made some new choices, and I'm hoping they pay off.
So, were you a fan of the series before, or you kind of like?
Yeah, Assassin's Creed was never something I played religiously. I only kind of played.
Did we lose him?
I think we lost him.
I think we might have lost you there for a second, Maka. What did you think, Baines?
I'm looking forward to it.
I wouldn't call myself.
Go ahead, Maka.
I wouldn't call myself a big fan of the series or anything, but I know a lot of people who love the game series, and I'm always excited to see what companies come up with in their newest games.
Definitely, yeah.
I'm looking forward to the game. I've enjoyed the previous Assassin's Creed. I played Unity well after it was patched, so it was actually a really good game to me. Syndicate was really good. And like everybody here said, so far they've taken a year off, so I'm hoping they'll introduce some type of cool new gameplay mechanic. Also, like Maka said, Ubisoft's been doing their thing here lately, so definitely looking forward to see what they can bring to the table with this new Assassin's Creed.
Definitely. Tim, what do you think?
After the last couple, I'll definitely wait to see everybody else's opinion on this new one, because like the last few weren't, in my opinion, they weren't great. I think I played Unity for like 20 minutes and got bored. I didn't even touch Syndicate, but like Black Flag is still one of my favorite games ever.
Trash. No, I'm just kidding.
You should give Syndicate a try, because Syndicate was really good compared to Unity. Syndicate and Assassin's Creed 4 I thought were comparable, except for the ship. Being able to ride the waves on the ocean like you did with that ship in Assassin's Creed 4. Assassin's Creed Syndicate was a really good Assassin's Creed game.
Yeah, I feel like Syndicate was more of a Assassin's Creed game than Black Flag, because Black Flag was basically just a pirate game. I didn't really feel like it was an Assassin's Creed game, so I played it.
But I like that. Like, I never finished 3 either. I kind of fell off the boat after Revelations.
Oh yeah, that trash.
No one can blame me for that, I suppose.
Yeah, it was the worst one in the series. I mean,
that's arguable, but because like I actually finished Revelations.
Really?
I got like, I don't know, like 12 hours into Assassin's Creed 3, and I could finally play as Connor or something, and I got bored.
Yeah, that intro was obscenely long for Assassin's Creed 3.
Yeah, it like threw me way out of the. Like, I just wasn't invested in it by the time I actually got to be an assassin, so I just put it down and never played it again.
Yeah, I think 3 is probably my least favorite of all of them.
Yeah. Do you guys think that the pinnacle and the pinnacle of that series was 2, and do you think that they'll ever be able to match it or even over top 2 at all?
I would agree that 2 is my favorite of the Assassin's Creed franchise.
Mhm.
As far
I'd say
as
2
like,
probably.
yeah, 2 is probably the best, and I think they can overtake that. I think they just have to take their time, and I'm glad they took this year off, and hopefully they've taken that time to give us a better experience. I'm really interested to see what they're going to do now that they're going further into the past. They're going before Assassin's Creed 1. They've literally like opened up history where they can do anything and not have to worry about previous games not having continuity issues.
Yeah.
What games did the remaster cover?
2, Brotherhood, and Revelations. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Which were
I might have
all
to go back and
Ezio.
pick that
Ezio
up.
was like the protagonist for all 3 of those games.
Yeah.
A lot of times when people talk about the series and they talk about the past series, they always mention Ezio. Like he was the best protagonist within the series.
Yes.
Well, like within the trilogy, you had Assassin's Creed 2, and then you had the 2 spin-offs. Assassin's Creed 1 and Assassin's Creed 3, you were separate protagonists, but then you had like a trilogy of Ezio games by itself.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone's going to have an affliction for Ezio as their favorite just because there were more games made with Ezio. I think they could have used a different protagonist and still gotten that draw in, but because Ezio was ingrained in everyone that played those games last generation, that's why he's their favorite. I mean, I loved Assassin's Creed Syndicate, and I think the twins that were in that, they were really solid characters, and if you played it all the way through, like they were really well developed, and I hope that they follow through with that with the new Assassin's Creed game.
Definitely.
Yeah. To follow up on that question, when you asked if Assassin's Creed 2 is, kind of the pinnacle of the potential of Assassin's Creed, I think that's going to be as high and as good as Assassin's Creed ever gets. There's way too much series fatigue. There's no room left for innovation in an Assassin's Creed game. There's just not enough for them to do to be able to take that genre of game and evolve it into something that was arguably almost a masterpiece in Assassin's Creed 2. Now, the games will always be great, and they'll always serve the fan base and everything, but Assassin's Creed being like in the running for Game of the Year, I don't know if that's ever going to happen again.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you on that one. I don't think it'll ever get to that point where 2, because 2 was just so good, man. And even the one after that, Brotherhood was even pretty on par with 2. And I think, at this point, they can make the game look fantastic and make it run like 2, and it'll still be looked at as, it's just Assassin's Creed basically, and that's kind of sad, because I mean, I think the series could definitely be great again, but I honestly think I agree with Maka on that one, where I don't think it'll ever reach that height ever again.
Yeah, if they want to get something that's considered that good, it'll have to be like a different style of game, pretty much. Like My favorite is definitely 4, but it wasn't a good Assassin's Creed game. It was a great pirate game, but not a good Assassin's Creed game.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Speaking of, go ahead.
I was about to. It's like part of that might be the fact that it was the first game that I played on my Xbox One, but I still loved it.
Definitely. Baines, what do you think on that, man? Your thoughts?
As far as Assassin's Creed 2,
Yeah, well, as far as it, being the pinnacle, and it, will Assassin's Creed ever live to that height or even go beyond?
see, I kind of skipped in this series. I played a little bit of 1, and I hated it, and then I just left the series alone until later on.
Oh, okay.
So that's why I was asking about the remaster, because I actually wanted to go back and play some of them.
You might want to not play the remaster because it's definitely not the best remaster of a game. I would say go back and play 2 just backwards compatible, because I think it's backwards compatible on Xbox One.
At one point it was free too, so you might own it.
Yeah, it was one of the games with gold before it was backwards compatible though.
Okay, yeah, but I got a little bit of 1. Go ahead.
Yeah, Revelations is going to be free next month, so you can pick that up too, even if it's the worst of that trilogy.
I got a little bit of 1, and then I left the series alone. It just did not exist in my gaming vocabulary until Black Flag came out. So,
okay,
yeah, that's when I jumped back on.
Man, you guys are just tugging at my heartstrings tonight, man. God, just trashing on all the series I love. No, it's all good.
I was such a fan of Assassin's Creed that I bought Assassin's Creed 4 on the 360 when Best Buy was having a special going on, where if you bought a Xbox 360 game that was already announced to come out as an Xbox One game, you could trade in your 360 version and upgrade the Xbox One version for $10. So I remember I was out at Best Buy at midnight the day that the Xbox One launched. I had my copy of Assassin's Creed 4 on 360. I traded that in, got the $10, paid the $10 for Assassin's Creed 4, and that was one of the first games I played on the Xbox One on launch night.
Oh, nice.
So you're not alone, Optimus. I also love Assassin's Creed and Mass Effect. Even though you're my nemesis, we have some similarities.
Yeah, definitely. I'm such an Assassin's Creed fan that I'm excited for the Assassin's Creed TV series. I hope that they do such a good job with this. I think it's coming to Netflix. I think that's what they were saying, or it's rumored to come to Netflix.
If it does, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I think Netflix could actually do a really good job with that. Don't quote me on if it's coming to Netflix or not. I'm not too sure. But I think if they take what the movie, because I know the movie, I actually bought the movie. That's how big of a fan I am. I actually bought the movie. I haven't seen it yet, but I can watch it.
That's gonna be my next question. Are you a big enough fan that you thought the movie was good?
I haven't watched it yet, so I'll definitely let you guys know when.
I'm glad you haven't watched it yet, because I love Assassin's Creed, but I haven't seen the movie yet because video game movies just never seem to do well. But I think that an episodic TV series where you can have 12 to 13 episodes to build a season, I think video games, just like when it comes to comic books, I think they lend themselves better to an episodic type of visual medium than they do a 90-minute to 2-hour movie.
Right, because they could take a season and make it into one storyline of an Assassin's Creed, esque, storyline, and then do the next season as a different storyline.
I wonder
different
if it
characters and stuff like that.
Better if they did 2 episodes as one character and then switch to another character and then did it basically 5 or 6 different mini series of each different character.
Ooh, that would be kind of interesting. Yeah. But yeah, I think if they do this, it'll be a good thing. Hopefully they don't screw it up like they did with the games. Hopefully I know a lot of people didn't like the movie. Hopefully they don't do that either. I mean, I haven't seen it, so I don't really know.
Yeah, I was going to say you're such a big fan of it that you don't want the movie to tarnish it.
Right, exactly. I hopefully it doesn't do that. But we'll see. We'll see, definitely. Any thoughts on that? Anybody else?
They're working on a movie for The Division. Hopefully that's good.
We're not talking about The Division, Maka. Dang it.
Hey, it's Ubisoft.
Ubisoft games being turned into
No, it is.
Yeah.
Eventually, one of them has to be good, right?
Yeah,
Right?
that's
Yeah.
true. Yeah, I mean, eventually, I know they were talking about a Splinter Cell movie too, and I'm all like, ooh, oh god, don't ruin one of my favorite franchises of all time either.
Yeah. You look at the Hitman movie, and you can kind of see where stealth games tend to go when they're made into movies.
Yeah, definitely.
Wait, they made a Hitman movie?
They sure did. He was spinning from a chandelier, shooting people with pistols in the middle of a party.
Well, they had two. They didn't just have one Hitman movies. They had two Hitman movies. So,
yeah, if they do a Splinter Cell movie, they have to take heavy inspiration from John Wick.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. That's like the pinnacle of those type of movies.
Oh man, John Wick. Let's not even get into that because that movie is awesome. But what do you think, Baines, on the TV series of Assassin's Creed?
Has this ever been done before? Taking a game of this caliber and putting it into a TV series?
I mean, there was the Super Mario TV show.
I was gonna say, yeah, like I said, it is caliber.
and Sonic.
And there was a Far Cry movie.
Yeah.
Oh
See,
man,
there was.
I think there was like
German director that makes all the crappy video game movies. Something Bowl or something like that.
U-Bowl, yeah, that's fucking good.
Some of this caliber, I mean, it could lend itself pretty well to a series. I guess them taking it from the standpoint of him being actually in what's the system he's in to get into
the Animus.
The Animus.
Yeah, the Animus. Looking at it from that perspective, and then going back into the actual gaming world. I mean, that could work. It just depends on how it's done. I'll be interested to watch it. I would give it a chance first few episodes. So, we'll just have to see what happens.
I feel like it could work well, as a Black Mirror type TV show.
Ooh.
Right. That's yeah. You're right.
Yeah, that would be.
Black Mirror was actually really good.
Definitely, I agree with you on that one. We'll move on to Red Dead Redemption 2 release date may have been leaked. What do you guys think? Do you guys see it coming out in September? I kind of do. I mean, I know that there's a lot of people are thinking it's going to be pushed back to next year, but I think with this leak, it kind of proves a little bit that it might actually come out this year. What are you guys' thoughts?
Who knows?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Tim.
I was just going to say it can definitely compete. It's a Rockstar game. It can definitely compete at that time frame. Yeah, if not be the big seller of the year.
Yeah, I think in any time frame that it comes out, it'll definitely compete. It'll probably kill anything that's around it. But Rockstar is always good for one delay, so we'll see.
Yeah, the only thing with that is that Red Dead Redemption doesn't quite have the name that Grand Theft Auto has. So,
right.
Yeah,
definitely.
And it might be competing against Destiny 2, which will be interesting. And Destiny 2 comes out before Red Dead Redemption, based on the leaks. So if that's true, you might have a lot of people who spent money on Destiny 2. And if it can hold on to their attention for more than a few weeks, Red Dead Redemption might pass under their noses and they might just let it slide. I don't know. It's interesting, but I don't think it's definitely in the realm of possibilities for Red Dead 2 to come out in September, same month that GTA 5 came out.
And I will not be one of those people spending money on Destiny 2. I'm just saying that right now. That's not going to happen. Red Dead Redemption 2, it can come out whenever the hell Rockstar wants it to. It's going to be a great game, and I'm going to love it.
Nice. Just quick and straight to the point. Love it.
I'd love to be able to say the same thing about Destiny as you, Mike, but I can't trust myself. I almost guarantee I'm going to get it, just even though I fucking hate the first one, but I have 1,200 hours in it, so...
Yeah, I bought Destiny the day that it launched. I bought the DLC, the season pass, the day that Destiny came out. So I spent so much money on this game, and then I tried to play Destiny with a couple of friends. I want to say maybe 2 months ago, and I didn't have the what is it? What's the newest DLC? The Iron Banner.
Rise of Iron.
Rise of Iron. Okay, I did not have the Rise of Iron. So, all right, let's go to the store. Let's buy the Rise of Iron. It should be maybe $20, $30 at the most. There is no Rise of Iron DLC to buy in the store. You have to buy the complete edition for another $60 or $50, whatever it was. That was the point where I said, you know what? I'm done with this game. I'm not going to buy any sequels. The fact that they don't let an early adopter buy the last DLC add-on at a DLC price, that just turned me off of the series as a whole entirely.
Yeah,
there was at some point you were able to buy just Rise of Iron.
Right.
I don't know if they took it off the store. That seems like a weird thing.
They took it away as soon as the complete edition came out. They took away the Rise of Iron DLC. Like, I researched it on Google. I was like, why can I not find this Rise of Iron DLC by itself? And it just was not available because there was a complete edition out. And they had a really good sale during Black Friday where you could get the complete edition for like $20 or $30. And I didn't get it because I figured I've already got everything and I don't really play the game anymore. So it really turned me off that they were trying to charge me another $60 just because I was missing one DLC pack.
From what I know, the complete edition and Rise of Iron came out on the same day. So I don't know. That's weird. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, I think you can still get the Rise of Iron DLC on Amazon digital. So I'm not too sure on that. But
yeah, I didn't check Amazon, so I will concede to that. It might be possible.
He's got 7,000 hours in the game. He says it's there. It's just hidden. I'll take his word for it. They probably just did a really good job of hiding it on purpose to try to sell more copies of the complete edition.
Yeah, definitely. Well, speaking on since we're already speaking about Destiny 2, so the release date possibly leaked for, I think, around the same time that Red Dead Redemption is coming out. I'm with Mike on that one. I'm probably not going to pick Destiny 2 up at all. have no interest in it at all.
Just to clarify what Mike said, I just looked it up. Destiny Rise of Iron only available as part of a bundle.
Huh.
That's exactly what I saw. Now, I may have been too drunk or under some other substance at the time that I couldn't find it, but I'm glad that you found the same thing that I did.
Yep.
Well then. Yeah. Baines, what do you think of Destiny 2 being leaked release date?
I'm happy. I mean, I'm looking forward to the game. I'm going to buy it. I got to the Destiny game really late, but it has some of the best shooting mechanics in the first person series. I mean, first person game, period. So the lore was kind of messed up and stretched. You had to go here and here to put the story together. But yeah, I think they got better with that as they went from the Taken King on. And so I'm kind of looking forward to seeing how they, transition to putting a better story all within the game, as soon as it comes out. So I'm really looking forward to Destiny 2. I'm going to get it and Red Dead Redemption 2. So it doesn't matter whichever one of them drops. I'm getting both. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to Destiny 2.
All right. Cool, man. So Shadow Warrior 2 console version is still pegged for this spring of this year. So, I mean, does anybody really care about this game?
Oh yeah, I love Shadow Warrior. It's a great game. It's like the most shooter of shooters.
Really?
It's just like back to basics. Like, you guys played Doom last year. It just brought you back to basics. And that's what Shadow Warrior is. It's like, fuck the story. Fuck any sense of like things having to make sense. Just give you a gun, shoot stuff and kill it. Here's a sword, cut stuff in half because it's fun. And Shadow Warrior 2 is a great game. I highly recommend picking it up on PC on a sale. You could probably pick it up for like $20. As for whether it's going to be great on consoles, whether it's going to be worth a full price on consoles, that's a different debate. But Shadow Warrior 2 is a fantastic game and generally very highly looked at from shooter fans.
Okay. All right. So I've never played any of the Shadow Warriors, and I really enjoyed Doom. So you think I would probably enjoy this one then?
I mean, you look at Shadow Warrior 2 on Steam, and the user reviews are very positive. Over 92% of people recommend it, which for Steam reviews, that's pretty high.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. So
it's a very basic shooter, though. If you're looking for a story, if you're looking for, stuff to make sense and dialogue and whatever, then no. If you're looking for if Duke Nukem, Shadow Warrior 2 is a good option.
Okay.
Now is the second Shadow Warrior is it linked to the first one at all, or are they two totally separate things?
I think it's the same character. His name's Wang.
Okay.
That's kind of the running joke in the game. I think the thread is pretty loose considering how little the story matters. There is some link between the first two. I just don't know how much it actually matters.
Okay. So I could just jump into it without playing the first one.
Realistically, yeah, you wouldn't miss out much.
Okay. All right. I'll have to check it out then.
I would think
gameplay. Go ahead, Mike.
I was just gonna say, for what Maka was saying there with Shadow Warriors 2, it really goes back to basics, like what Doom did last year. Do we know if there is going to be a console version of the new Quake Champions that is coming out? Because I would say that's another option to look into for anybody that loved Doom and just really wants good mechanics and a good shooter minus all the story elements. That's going to be available for people too.
They've been very adamant about saying that Quake Champions is a PC-only game. Yeah. Whether they change their money, companies will change their mind based on money. If the market's there, they'll figure it out. But as of right now, they are very, very, very focused on just PC.
Okay.
For Quake Champions.
Well, I guess that's good for PC people.
Okay. I could see it possibly coming to maybe to the Scorpio if they added keyboard and mouse support.
Yeah.
Yep.
Definitely.
They want it to be fast enough that they don't realistically think a console would be able to keep up with the amount of frames they want running. At the same time, with a controller, you wouldn't be able to react fast enough is kind of how they're saying, it just wouldn't be enjoyable with a controller. But if there was keyboard and mouse support, I guess that would go against everything, all the reasons they've given, right? And at that point, they'd have to do it as long as there's enough people who would buy it.
Yeah. Well, I feel like we've been hearing about keyboard and mouse support for the Xbox One and in any future iterations of the Xbox for what feels like almost 3 years now. So I'm really anxious to see whether that's going to come to fruition or not.
Okay, yeah. They, like you said, they've been kind of touting that for a while. If we're gonna get that, I think at the very best point to do it is to do it on the Scorpio, especially since it's gonna basically be a PC. Basically.
And if it's going to be using the PC versions of Windows 10 games, then yeah, it should be in there. So maybe they are just holding off until the Scorpio launches to do a software update for all Xbox One systems to let that be available.
Definitely, yeah. Any other thoughts on Shadow Warrior 2 console version?
I think it's going to be a budget title. It'll be $40 or less if that changes anyone's mind.
Yeah, that could probably change a lot of people's minds because, especially if it's if you, from what you're saying, is it pretty much like a AAA, experience with, the price of an indie game or something like that. But definitely gonna have to check that out. Seems like it'll be interesting.
The gameplay I've seen of it so far is really good. I'm looking forward to Shadow Warrior 2. I have Shadow Warrior 1. I haven't played it yet, so I'll probably play it before I play 2. Even though it seems like the story's not really that connected, but there's a lot of gruesome kills with the sword and stuff like that I've seen. It looks like really, really good fun. It looks fast too, kind of like Doom, like Maka was saying. So I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. You got any thoughts on that, Tim?
Not really. It sounds interesting.
All right.
That's about it.
Cool. So Absolver gameplay footage was recently put out there. Me personally, I don't even care about this game. But what are you guys' thoughts?
You're
It
breaking
reminds
my
me of-
heart with all your little comments here. Absolver is in my top 5 indie games you should definitely have your eyes on.
Thank you,
It's up
Maka.
there with Cuphead below. It's up there with Tacoma. This is like, if you're only going to care about 5 indie games for the next year, this is one you should care about.
Yes.
I think it's going to surprise a lot of people.
Okay.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of For Honor, except with Kung Fu, So it looks like there's going to be a lot of strategy involved to the fighting. If you watch the gameplay footage, I mean, it really does look involved. So I think it'll be something that we haven't had in gaming for. I don't think I've seen anything like this. So it's touching that new kind of genre. I guess it's carving its own little niche. I didn't know it was an indie, so it isn't it? Isn't it?
Well, it's by Devolver, who, I mean, I guess they're kind of an indie. They're self-published. They're publishing it through Devolver Digital, who is a publisher for many different developers, but they're definitely not as large of a scale as your Activisions, your, any of those big guys. They're definitely
indie developer.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's going to be a really good game, man. Something really different.
Okay.
Come on, Mike. Let's hear you trash it now.
I ain't got nothing to trash this game on. You nailed it when you said it looks like For Honor with kung fu instead of swords. That's exactly what this game looks like. I wasn't impressed with the gameplay. It's not anything that screams like I have to go out and buy this game as soon as it comes out. But that doesn't mean it's not a good game. That doesn't mean it's not going to have a good player base. I think Kung Fu has a large following. Kung Fu or martial arts in general. I don't know if you want to call it Kung Fu or not. But martial arts, there's not a whole lot of martial arts games out on the markets right now. So this could really get a big player base. And if it does, then I'm all for it. Like I said, the gameplay that I saw, it didn't impress me. It felt a little too slow. But also, if you want to be strategic in your gameplay, I don't know if you can really speed it up too much more. I'm more used to like the Dragon Ball Z type of fighter game or the Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter. So when I think of a fighter, it's not the type of game that I see in Absolver. But I could see this game being a game that I really like. It just, I need to know more about it, and I need to see more about it. The gameplay by itself just isn't enough.
That's fair.
Yeah, with it being like Kung Fu game, as you say, like it could very well cash in on the popularity of Iron Fist at the moment, with that just coming out on Netflix.
That's what I was thinking, but also Iron Fist has been getting a little bit of hate here and there, so I don't know how much love there is for that out there. I need to see more of a bigger consensus. I'm only 3 episodes into the season right now, so I have nothing to complain about. I'm looking forward to watching more of it.
Yeah, I haven't finished it either, but yeah, it's like it's getting a lot of hate, but it's still a Marvel TV show, so it's still got that
the
backing
Mass
behind
Effect of Marvel TV shows.
It's not perfect, but it has its merits. There you go.
Yeah,
Definitely.
it's also very different to like the other ones.
Yeah, I really like Luke Cage.
A lot more business focused.
Yeah, and they focus a little bit more on the dramatization of the character and stuff, and that's kind of cool.
Well, and I think that's where the series is getting most of its hate, is that I read something, again, I'm not that far into the season yet to really give a judgment on it, but somebody was complaining that, I think it was IGN, they or maybe it was a different publication, but they said Iron Fist, the character, is the biggest flaw of Iron Fist, the TV show. They were saying that Danny Rand was a little bit too whiny for anybody to think of him as a hero.
Oh my gosh, it's funny because I also heard people were saying, "Oh, well, he's not. Iron Fist is white. Why is he white?" And I'm all like, "Cause he's white in the damn comic."
Right.
Jeez, like, are you kidding me right now? Like,
have you heard of source material?
Yeah, they just hear that word and they're like Iron Fist. Oh, he must be Japanese or Asian or Chinese or something. Like they just think right off the bat like he's Oriental or something like that, and it's like, dude,
Yeah.
no, he's not.
Because Danny Rand is such an Oriental name.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Any other thoughts on Absolver before we move on?
Look out
Is
for
it
it. It's gonna be
coming
a good
to
one.
Is it coming to Xbox One? Because the only gameplay I could see was PS4. It was PS4 all over the place, so it seems like they're marketing it for PS4. But do we know that's coming to Xbox One? Because that's the only console I have right now. So if it's not coming there, I'm not going to get to play it.
Devolver has a long sordid past with Microsoft and the Xbox. This is one game that they've decided to put on the Xbox One, and probably by the developers' wish and command. But yeah, they have very strong ties with Sony, which is why you're probably seeing a lot of that. The game probably also runs a little bit better on the PlayStation, but it is announced and coming to the PC and Xbox One as well.
Okay, yeah, I'll definitely have to look more into that, and it's a game I'm interested in. I'm also interested in For Honor. I love melee type combat. I'm a huge Dark Souls fan, so if I can find a melee combat game that's for me, then I probably enjoy this game if it's good.
Definitely. So the new Star Wars Battlefront and Need for Speed games will be playable at E3. What do you guys think on that?
Couldn't care less about Need for Speed, but Star Wars Battlefront is pretty cool, especially since they're writing a campaign to it.
I'll be on the opposite side of that. Don't care about Star Wars Battlefront, but give me that Need for Speed.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Star Wars Battlefront 2. I'm looking forward to the campaign. I could care less for Need for Speed.
I hope they do something in Star Wars Battlefront 2 that's similar to the Battlefront games that we had on the PlayStation 2 and Xbox generation, where like Battlefront 2 had a really good campaign where you can choose different sides and kind of like build your own campaign.
Conquest.
Right, exactly. I hope they do something like that. I hope it's not something where they're just following like a movie storyline and having you play like key battles in that movie. I'm less excited for Need for Speed, but when it comes to racers, if it's not Forza or Forza Horizon, I'm not really interested in it. So the whole Need for Speed thing, that doesn't excite me. But Star Wars, I'm a huge Star Wars nerd. So the more Star Wars games I can get, I'm really more excited to see some single player experiences out of Star Wars games for this generation than I am multiplayer experiences. But Battlefront, I have a long history with Battlefront before the Battlefront that came out, what was it, a year and a half, 2 years ago. So I want to see it go back to when Battlefront was what I loved and not this next-gen Battlefront that we got. I didn't hate Battlefront when it came out about a year and a half ago, but it was missing something. It didn't have a soul almost.
Right.
Yeah. For me, I'm gonna agree with Maka on this one. I don't really care about Star Wars Battlefront 2, just because the first one was just so bad. Like the one from the new generation of Battlefronts oh god, I fucking hate that game. I'm more excited for the Need for Speed. I hope that they can take it back to its roots and make it a really good arcadey type of racer type of game. Hopefully, maybe they kind of do a underground esque to it, because I really like the Underground series. I even like Most Wanted as well. Hopefully they can bring it back and make it a good series again. So I definitely am on board with the Need for Speed, but not so much with the Star Wars Battlefront. Even though I am a Star Wars fan, I did not like the Battlefront game.
What was it? There was a teaser for Battlefront 3 that came out years ago where they showed going from ground combat, hopping in an X-Wing, flying up into the atmosphere, going into space, and then going into the space battles that Battlefront 2 had. I would love to see them bring something like that into the next Battlefront installment, where there is a seamless transition from ground battle into space battle. That would be awesome.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. It's DICE, and it's no, Dice is known for not making really great stories. So I mean, I can't really see the campaign being
Bad Company games.
as well. Yeah, the Bad Company games were good, but they weren't like fantastic. They just I don't see Dice making this Battlefront into a spectacular, awesome, campaign. I honestly see it being more of like Battlefield 1, and I do really like the Battlefield 1 campaign.
Yeah, that would work quite well in the Star Wars universe because you can pick
it
points
really would.
from around the movies and just have you play them.
I want to see them have more than the original Star Wars trilogy. I want to see them go into different eras. So I want to go into the Clone Wars. I want to go into the original trilogy. I want to go into some of what we're seeing with Rogue Squadron, or wait, what was it? Rogue One. Sorry. And I want to see maybe some Star Wars Episode 7 Battlegrounds. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, you'll probably almost definitely see Episode 7 and Rogue One, just because they're the newest things, and that's what everybody knows at the moment.
Yeah.
You might even see Episode 8 DLC.
I want to see the first like episodes 1 through 3 represented, just because when it comes to the hero system that we saw in the last Battlefront offering, episodes 1 through 3, despite what you think of the movies, they had a lot of good heroes that you could implement. So I think that would add a lot of variety to the game. So I hope they go back to that era as well.
Yeah, like the original Battlefront games had, like, you could choose to play the Galactic Civil War or the whatever it was called in the original
Clone
trilogy.
Wars.
Yeah, that's it, the Clone Wars. You just said that. How did I forget? But
God, Tim.
yeah, you could play as the heroes from the older ones too, and it was like that was cool. Like, even if the original ones weren't great, they made for pretty decent gameplay and like for games.
I don't know. It's weird. There's a few things that. Okay, so first things first, EA will do a hell of a job. Their marketing team will do a hell of a job convincing you that Star Wars Battlefront 2, that, not the actual second one, but the one they're going to call 2 just for the sake of things, is going to have a fantastic story. It's going to end up not probably being a very good story, as history would tell us with all of the Battlefield games. But like, the thing is, I don't know, I thought that, generally speaking, the Star Wars Battlefront that came out, 2 years ago, had a bad rap. Like, it had no content. It was hella expensive. And here you guys are saying it's, you're super excited. I don't know. I don't feel that excitement. I think there was a lot of people left with a bad taste in their mouth because of the value the game had, the lack of content, the amount of money they tried to squeeze out of people for like a couple of maps and game modes here and there. And the gameplay was decent, but it wasn't phenomenal. And to me, Star Wars Battlefront is not a game that I can get excited for, coming from 2017 EA, the same guys who released the prequel a couple years ago. And Star Wars Battlefronts, the ones on the original Xbox, I used to play the hell out of those. Those are some of my favorite games. But I just can't get on that hype train for Star Wars Battlefront 2. Like, wasn't it like $150 to get the season pass? And at the end of the day, there was like 14 maps or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you on that one, Maka. I just cannot get past what they did with the Battlefront of late. I'm just like, ugh. It tarnishes the Star Wars name, and it needs to stop. Damn it!
Yeah, I mean, the value proposition could definitely be argued, right? And especially for the content that you got. But with Battlefront, I kind of go back to, and they casualized the game. They did. They took the classes out. That was a big portion of the
bring that back.
Yeah, that was a big portion of the last Battlefront, but I always go back to, did I have fun with the game? And I had a lot of fun with Battlefront. So as far as my money, and you're looking at, the value of what I got versus, what I paid, I got a lot of value out of the game because I had a lot of fun. I put a lot of hours into the game. So
Right.
they could do a lot better at pricing their maps. A lot. I don't. There has to be a better system of with these DLCs, because a lot of times it splits the player base so thin that it's ridiculous. So maybe they can find another way to get their money through more microtransactions and not have to do these type of things. I guess that's the industry wide discussion type deal.
No,
but,
I will agree with that. I did not buy any DLC for the last Battlefront that came out, and I guess it was 2015, like fall of 2015 that game came out. I didn't buy anything other than the base game, and I felt like that the reason I didn't buy any DLC is because they were charging way too much for it. So Maka has a great point with that. I think my excitement for the next Battlefront offering comes from the nostalgia and the love that I have of the old Battlefronts from the Xbox generation that you played a lot of, Maka.
Right.
And again, it all comes back to that hope that they're going to go back to those roots, give us more options, and again with that teaser trailer, I can't get that out of my mind that we had for Battlefront 3. I don't even remember how long ago that was, but just that whole teaser of being able to go from the ground to the space without any sort of loading or going into a different map or anything like that. I think that on this generation that could certainly happen, and I would love to see something like that implemented.
Yeah, the EA marketing team does a hell of a job. For some reason, when EA markets something and it doesn't end up panning out, people kind of forget about it. But when Ubisoft does it, people tend to not forget about it. It's a little bit of a double standard, but look, I would be extremely surprised if Star Wars Battlefront 2 or whatever the next one is has an actual good campaign. I'd also be extremely surprised if they showed us a campaign that looked like it was not that great. They're going to show us a campaign that looks amazing, and they're going to give us a campaign that's just okay. In my opinion, only time will tell, though.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you on that.
As for Need for Speed Underground 3 would be really cool. Based on the direction they've been taking as a company, it wouldn't surprise me if they worked on that, or if they did Hot Pursuit 3. I have a feeling they're not going to completely revamp Need for Speed. I want to say they're going to, hop onto one of their old franchises, slap a number on there, and call it a new game. But who knows? They might just call it Need for Speed Underground and just revive that whole franchise without the 3 at the back. Who knows?
Oh, that'd be awesome.
I know a lot of people would be happy with that.
Definitely. Any other thoughts on that, guys?
I'll just say that I can't really speak on the Battlefront being super expensive when I got it for like $20. So
yeah, I think it's part of EA Access now. So I mean, you could essentially get it for
free now.
Very cheap, yeah. Or I mean, for a lot of people, free.
Yeah. So PlayStation presents a ton of games from the China Hero Project. What do you guys think of that? You guys know what the China Hero Project is at all?
Yeah.
Give us the rundown.
What were you gonna say, Maka?
Give us the rundown, the elevator pitch.
Oh, I don't know.
Of what that means.
all I know is the games, man. Some of the games on that list that they were presenting was pretty cool. I mean, like a lot of those, because I mean I guess apparently the China Hero Project is basically the Chinese government, China. The country of China is getting into more and more video games, and they're showing.
You just said China so much.
I know. I didn't want to say it in the wrong. I didn't want to say it wrong because a lot of people get very upset if you say something and they'll start calling you racist or some shit like that, and I'm just like trying to make sure that I get it out right. But I think what they're trying to do is create more games that represent China in a way, and it's definitely going to be good for the industry because they're doing film now, and they're going to start doing more video games. So it'll definitely be kind of cool to see what they come up with and see what they come out with.
Yeah.
Some of the games look.
It seems like Sony was heavily involved in this. Like they're going in and sponsoring some of these games or something like that, or maybe loosely involved with a lot of these games coming out. So
Yeah,
which is really surprising because China and Japan, they don't always have the best working relationship. So to see Sony and China getting together so well with this initiative, it's just surprising overall from a world politics perspective.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was basically just a scissor reel of games that some of these smaller studios in China were making. And a lot of them looked to be pretty appealing. Me and Mike had a discussion about whether or not some of these games would get localized, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest question right now is, games from Chinese developers and just Eastern developers in general, they don't often come to the West. So whether or not these games that we're seeing in this like sizzle reel that we're seeing of teaser trailers of games from the project, are they going to make their way over to Western audiences? That I think is the bigger question, and especially for those of us in the United States, there have been some information in the news. I try to avoid politics, but there's going to be some possible import taxes imposed upon outside countries for United States citizens. Can these Chinese developers even afford to send these games over to the United States? That's an even bigger question, depending on whether or not these taxes and tariffs go through. There's a whole lot up in the air for us in the U.S. Our government's in a bit of a mess right now. Again, I'm trying to avoid politics, but I'll be interested to see what comes out of this, because right now it seems like everything's pretty early on. And I hate to see things too early on, because like what we saw with Scalebound, if you show something off too early, it may never happen. And I'd rather see games that are definitely coming out instead of just an idea of what games could be.
Yeah, I see your point with the whole taxation stuff, but to be honest, film-wise, now let me emphasize, film-wise, we have a good relationship with China right now, film-wise. So I could see them actually, a lot of these games coming to the West because of that, and because of that reason. Also, I don't think we'll probably get them physical. I think we'll get them digitally. So that'll, plus most of us have probably already gone digital anyway, so it won't really matter to us if we get it digital or physical or whatever. So I think there will be ways around certain taxations on certain things, because like with games you can get them digital, so it won't really cost them anything to just put it on the Microsoft Store or put it on PlayStation.
But, digital games, they mimic the price of retail games right now because of the working relationship that manufacturers have with brick and mortar stores. They can't offer a digital game at a cheaper price than you pay for physical, even though you're not paying for the physical printing and shipping of the disc. So even though you're right, I think a digital game should not be imposed on that type of a tax that would be done for manufactured goods that are manufactured outside the United States, if that tax does go into effect. I don't know that digital games would necessarily be cheaper if let's say the imported physical game was much more expensive than what they could offer a digital game. I don't know that the digital stores that we have with PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, if they can give a better price because of the different relationship they have with brick and mortar stores right now.
Right. Yeah. Definitely. Any other thoughts on the PlayStation and the China Hero project?
My stance is,
what I do want to say. Oh, go ahead, Maka.
My stance is pretty basic. The more games, the better. If the games are good, I hope that the consumers reward good behavior with their money. So if a good game comes out, I hope it does well. And if a bad game comes out, I don't hope it does poorly, but I would expect it to do poorly. And that's kind of how economy and consumers work. So hopefully some of these games are great games, and hopefully we get to try some of them. I would imagine there's, in terms of the trading with outside countries, I imagine there's going to be some legal loopholes with buying the licensing of the games and printing the discs in the US, or selling off the IP to a US company and then selling it through a digital store that way. There's going to be loopholes, and someone's going to figure out what the cheapest way to do that is. And once they figure out whether the cheapest way is worth it or not, that'll determine whether or not we get them. But more games is better. And if they're good, hopefully they get rewarded.
Yeah, and a lot of these games that we saw, they looked really good and really different from what we're seeing in the mainstream. So I hope they do make their way over here. I don't know if they will, but I really hope that they do because, some of these games, these were games that I would buy.
Okay. All right. Tim, you got any thoughts on that?
Not particularly. It's more games is always good. As Maka said, some of these games I'm sure will be good games. Will uncover some new potentially good developers over in China, and maybe this will turn into some maybe potentially a new AAA studio over there with maybe some of these smaller developers collaborating together and making a larger studio.
All right. Yeah, definitely. Anybody else have any other thoughts on the China Here project at all? Nothing? All right. Moving on to, this is something that I know Mike is excited about. It's Ghostbusters PSVR game. Because I know you love Ghostbusters, dude.
I do. I love Ghostbusters. I don't know what it is about Ghostbusters. My very first school photo, I was wearing a Ghostbusters outfit. So that just shows you how much I love Ghostbusters from very early on in just my entire history. The Ghostbusters VR project, I'm not interested in VR whatsoever. I have no interest in VR at all. But when I saw this announced, I was like, oh, maybe I do want to get a VR headset. I don't know. The Ghostbusters VR project, Ghostbusters is owned by Sony Pictures. What I did see of the Ghostbusters VR project, they were using some of the hardware that was from the new Ghostbusters film, which I liked it, but I didn't love it the way that I love the original Ghostbusters movies. It was a good watch, but I haven't bought it yet or anything like that. I don't know where I stand on this. I think being a Ghostbuster in VR, that's my dream. But is this going to make me buy a PlayStation 4 and a PSVR? No, it's not. If it comes to Xbox and some of the Xbox VR hardware that is supposedly going to be supported with Scorpio, this might make me spend the $200 or $300 to get a VR headset just to experience these 15-minute episodes that apparently we're getting with this new Ghostbusters VR game.
All right, yeah.
But you are right. I am a huge fan of Ghostbusters, and if you haven't bought Ghostbusters for the Xbox 360 that's backwards compatible now, you should certainly do that because it's a great game if you love the Ghostbusters movies. The old one's not the new one.
Well, that's basically what the third movie too, isn't it? Like they kind of consider that the third movie in a way.
Yeah, it
that game
from what was it? Harold Ramis and the director and oh god, his name is escaping me right now. The guy that played Ray Stantz. Yeah, they wrote the script for the Ghostbusters game, so it was what they wanted the third Ghostbusters movie to be. So yeah, check out that game if you haven't got it yet. It's not the best of games, but if you like Ghostbusters, you'll enjoy it just the way that I do. I go back and replay that game at least 2 or 3 times a year. It's an obsession for me.
Nice. What do you guys? Go ahead, Tim.
I don't enjoy I don't mind Ghostbusters, but I'm not like Mike. I'm not a massive fan of it. I'll watch it occasionally, like the original ones. And I'm not ready for VR yet. I don't think VR is ready for us yet. So I think that I'm not particularly interested in this game at the moment. But I'm sure for people like Mike, it'll be a good game. It'll be finally get to play out their Ghostbusters fantasies in VR.
Yep. It's the first game that's made me want to buy a VR headset.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like you're going to be spending some money.
Yes.
Yeah, my wife
I mean,
really appreciates that.
I mean, as far as Ghostbusters is the movie, I mean, I love all of them. I've seen all of them. But my wallet's not ready for VR yet, so
A little dust is
that's
coming
about
out of your
where it's at.
wallet. You're like, damn,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, no,
There's too much
I'm not
coming out of
about
my wallet.
to. I'm not about to buy a new console to get a VR headset just to play this game, but again, Sony owns the rights to Ghostbusters, so whether or not they will bring this game to Scorpio with its VR support, that's a huge question. I would love to play this game. If it comes to Scorpio, then I've just lost $300 on top of the cost of Scorpio.
Okay. Maka, what do you think of it?
I'm ready to bite the bullet on VR in the coming future, but Ghostbusters has no influence on that decision. We'll leave it at that.
All right.
Blasphemy.
So this week, Phil Spencer's took to Twitter and started started conversating with a lot of the people on there, letting them know that he thinks that first-party games should be ready for Scorpio. What are your guys' thoughts on that? Do you think these games will be ready for Scorpio, like Sea of Thieves, Crackdown, and State of Decay, or do you think they'll come after a little bit after Scorpio is launched? What do you guys think?
I'm sure some of them will release with Scorpio because it's pointless releasing a new console without games to go with it. They've known about Scorpio for a long time, much longer than we have, and they've been working on these games for as long as they've been working on Scorpio. So I'm sure at least some of these games will be ready.
Okay, yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I definitely like what I hear from Phil. Saying that he's going to try to make sure that these games are ready for Scorpio. So, I mean, I don't think we'll get State of Decay right as soon as Scorpio launches, but I think we will get Crackdown. We might get Sea of Thieves right as soon as the Scorpio launches. But we'll see. Definitely.
Well, and I think that beyond that, any games that we see that have come out for the Xbox One or Play Anywhere games, I think those are going to have a Scorpio-ready version right off the bat. So as soon as Scorpio launches, if you look at games like Gears of War 4, Forza Horizon 3, ReCore, these are all going to have Scorpio updates available for them already because they have this Windows 10 version that they could easily convert over to Scorpio. Hopefully, if UWP works the way that we've heard it does, those games are just going to be day one Scorpio ready games. And that also, again, nothing is confirmed, but I hope that extends to third party titles as well. So like Resident Evil 7, I'm hoping that has a Scorpio update. As soon as the Scorpio comes out, I can just install an update and there I have all the PC textures ready for me.
It's a UWP title, I think, so you won't even need that. It'll just be good to go.
Oh yeah. No, that's right.
Well, yeah, I definitely think they're pushing hard to get these games ready for Scorpio. It'll be a better launch to have games that are actually ready for the hardware that's coming onto the market, and it'll be better as opposed to the PS4 Pro's launch where it really just had patched games and not games that were specifically built to show us what the system can do. So I guess we'll have to see.
Yeah, I think Microsoft has to do a lot of things well with games for Scorpio to be successful. Step one, old games, Xbox One titles that are already out, make them better. Step two, third-party games, make Xbox Scorpio the best place to play any third-party game. Step three is first-party games, and I'm sorry, but State of Decay 2, Sea of Thieves, Crackdown 3, and Forza Motorsport 7 are not enough to get people to want to buy a console. So you got to announce some new games if you're Microsoft, if you want the thing to be successful. I think they got some things up their sleeve. I think they're going to have a good E3. If they have a good reveal and a good E3 and they announce some new games that we don't expect, I can imagine the Scorpio being very successful, and I'm optimistic.
All right, awesome. Any other thoughts on Phil Spencer's tweets?
Well, I mean, I'm glad to hear him coming out and backing up the statement that they need to be more focused on first party titles.
Yep.
I think that's really important. We know the mantra that's been going on for this first quarter that Xbox has no games, although we know that's untrue. It's just a perception thing. So they really need to get behind the ball on this.
Yeah, a big problem with the Xbox first party games is that they had them all when the consoles released, and that was when multiplats were the big system sellers because they worked better on the PS4. They ran better. And now that we're past that, nobody bought those first party games when they released, so now Microsoft doesn't have them. And PlayStation is just releasing all these first party games. And Microsoft has already put out all those games early in the generation.
Yeah.
That's typically the thing with Sony. They usually start to blow their wad, for lack of a better way to say it. They're of their exclusives toward the middle of the generation.
Yeah, middle.
And so now we're starting to see that ramp up with Sony. So it's not new hardware, and the games that they have announced. It's not. I agree with Maka. Is not what's going to do it. It's going to be the new IPs, first party IPs that they introduced. Yeah.
On that note, games with gold for April 2017. I know Rise Son of Rome is coming out. That's the only one I really care about, so I can't really remember the other ones. I mean, I already own the game physical, but it'll be good to have a digital copy of it. The rest of the games I can't remember for the life of me which ones they were.
Walking Dead Season 2, Assassin's Creed Revelations, and Darksiders. So a pretty good list for this month coming up.
Not bad.
I own most of them, but still a good list.
It's a good month for me because, like Optimus, I have Rise physical, so I'd love to get a digital copy because aside from the games that I bought when I got my Xbox One on launch day in 2013, I have not bought a single physical game. So I think I bought Forza 5, Rise Son of Rome, and Assassin's Creed 4. Those are the only 3 physical games that I own. And to get that digital, that's great for me because one of the reasons I don't play Rise anymore is because I'm lazy and I don't get up and put disc into my console. So I'll be happy to go back and revisit that game. The Walking Dead Season 2, I already have it, but it's a great game for anybody that doesn't. And Darksiders, I played that on the 360. I sold my physical copy when I got rid of my 360 about 6 months ago. So I'm very happy to get that back again. I think it was a great platformer action type game. And what was the other 360 game?
Assassin's Creed Revelations.
Assassin's Creed Revelations. We talked about this earlier. It's not the best Assassin's Creed game in the Assassin's Creed 2 trilogy that they came out with, but it's still a good game. It's worth playing. It's coming to backwards compat, so by all means, pick it up for free and play it because you're not losing anything when you play a free game.
Very, very true. That is.
Yeah, I would say Rise is a good game that a lot of people probably haven't tried. Specifically the more casual players who might own an Xbox but weren't hardcore when it first came out, probably picked it up for Christmas the year after or on a sale, and Rise was old news. So I think a lot of people will get a kick out of that. I think it'll do quite well. It's interesting that they're doing that, though. It kind of makes me wonder if Rise 2 is a thing, because I'm wondering what incentive do they have to really make Rise free? And, I guess there's some microtransactions, but they're not as hard embedded into that game as you'd like them to be for them to be able to just make money offering them for free. Obviously, you get a cut of the Xbox Gold, Live Gold sale.
I think he just cut out again.
Yeah. But Rise is a great game. If anybody that has an Xbox One hasn't played it yet, go and download that game on April 1st when it comes out, because you're really missing out if you haven't played the game. Despite all the hate that it got for the QuickTime events, it was a fun game, and the QuickTime events really weren't as bad as the media made it out to be.
Yeah, I really enjoyed Rise. I mean, to me, that ending was epic.
Dude, the story overall was really good for that type of game.
Yeah. And I kind of agree with Maka's sentiment that, it is kind of strange that leading up into we're getting close to E3, and you see Rise as being free when actually it probably should have been free a long time ago. It kind of makes me think that we may have some type of Rise 2 announcement, but that's a while off, so we'll see.
Well, you know what else is interesting? Last April 2016, we had a really strong month for games with gold, and I'm wondering if games with gold are just going to kind of have those ebbs and tides that we've seen with previous years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think every April so far has been a really strong month for games with gold. Maybe they were just saving it for April, just to have that strong month.
Yeah,
maybe so.
I can see that. I can see also. Go ahead, Mike.
I was gonna say it also gives hope to other launch titles coming to games with gold in the future. So like games like Dead Rising 3, Forza Motorsport 5, like who knows, maybe those will be coming out during the summer drought that we have before the fall games come out.
That'll be nice. Definitely.
Yeah.
To speak on Maka's point with the Rise Son of Rome 2 or whatever it'll be called, I definitely can see them putting Rise, the first one, on games with gold, just to kind of tease us to kind of say, hey, we're gonna make another one, because I mean they've kind of done that in the past before with other games, and this is kind of a cool thing for if they actually announce Rise Son of Rome 2 at E3 or something like that. That'll be awesome. And they'll say coincides with Scorpio or whatever, and it's just like, oh shit, we're gonna see another Rise. That'll be awesome.
Well, that is interesting. That if they did that, both of them would be launch titles.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be crazy. Any other thoughts on the games with gold for April?
Is Maka back?
I'm here. My internet's just been going all whack. My computer's whack, and I don't know. I'm cutting in and out a bit, but I am here.
Okay.
Talk when I can.
Okay. Do you have any thoughts on the games of the gold?
Any more thoughts?
Any more thoughts at all?
No, I don't know at what point you guys stopped hearing me, but
it was right as soon as you said Rise Son of Rome 2, and
yeah. So hopefully it's a little bit of a tease. I'm excited for casuals who haven't tried Rise because they picked up the console a little late, or people who skipped it because of bad reviews. I'm excited for them to get their hands on it. It's worth your time in terms of single player, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely.
And if you're looking to get those achievements out of the way, I got some guides for you. So,
shameless plug.
Plug.
Not gonna lie, I have used those guides many times over the years.
Hey, I have too.
Now, one thing that I do want to say with Rise coming to games with gold, everyone's hopeful that we're going to get a Rise 2 announcement with E3. Sunset Overdrive came to games with gold a while back, and we didn't really get a sequel announcement for that. I'm still hopeful we will get a sequel to that in the future, but when it comes to Rise 2, I want to go back to the console corner standard of keep your expectations in check, where just because it's coming out with games with gold, that doesn't guarantee we're getting a sequel.
Yeah.
If Microsoft sees a huge uptake of people playing the game, I believe they own the Rise IP, so maybe that could spell out something in the future, but it's not necessarily going to be an immediate future. I don't know that we're going to see it at E3. Maybe we'll see it at E3 next year if a lot of people start playing it. But a sequel to that game would be great because it had an excellent campaign.
Definitely, I definitely agree with you on that. So Bloodstained Ritual of the Night canceled on the Wii U. I mean, are we even surprised that it was canceled? Because I mean, didn't they say that Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is going to be the last game for the Wii U anyways? I honestly
I'm not
can't
sure if
see.
it was first party. Like maybe it might just be the last first party game.
That's what I
I'd be
think too.
surprised if they completely stopped like third parties using the Wii U to sell their
all
games
the
as well.
stuff you're thinking
Yeah.
of, like all the indies. Yeah.
Well, I mean, people are still making games for the Atari 2600. You could buy cartridges that are new games for the Atari 2600 right now. So third parties may keep making games for the Wii U, but I think that this announcement that it's not going to be coming out for the Wii U is not surprising because they've stopped making Wii U's. They're not making them anymore at all.
Yep.
So why would
Yeah,
you
they
produce
stopped
software
all the Switch
for a piece of hardware that's not being made at all?
Right. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't too surprised about them canceling it for the Wii U. They're really focusing on the Switch right now. So, I mean, this game looks like it'll be definitely a good game to play on the Switch, especially since it's, basically the Switch is a mobile device. It's not. I haven't even used it on it. Well, I've used it on my TV a little bit, but for the most part, I've been using it, just a handheld version of it, and I think
to see more games coming out for the Switch because right now it's pretty much a Zelda machine.
Yeah, it's pretty barren right now.
They have
I am
the
looking
Splatoon 2
forward to.
beta.
Yeah, I haven't tried that out yet. I'm thinking of picking up Arms when that comes out, maybe, hopefully, depending on what kind of reviews it gets or what other people think of it. Since I won't be able to see all the YouTube reviews because they have a lock on that through Nintendo. But I'll be able to see IGN, things like that, even though I despise all those other factions of reviews and things like that. So
you'll probably have to play Arms in TV mode too, because that game wouldn't really work mobile.
Yeah, I don't really see that one working mobile at all. So that'll definitely give me a good reason to put it on the TV and play that. Any thoughts on the Bloodstain being canceled?
I mean, the Wii U doesn't have much of an install base. Canceling it for the Wii U doesn't really change a hell of a lot, to be honest.
Right.
Definitely. And I feel like the Wii U probably has a unique architecture, making it quite probably difficult to like develop for that alongside other things. So they're just putting all their resources onto developing it for the Switch.
All right. Yeah. So I saved the best and the most interesting topic of the night for last. It is CD Projekt Red says it would be unfair to fans to not make a Witcher 4. What do you guys think? I'm absolutely excited. I cannot wait. If they make a Witcher 4, holy shit, it'll be fucking awesome.
Well, you're going to be waiting a long time for it.
Oh, I know that. I know that, but I'm absolutely ecstatic.
I think in the immediate future, I'm really looking forward to Cyberpunk 2077.
Even that's still a long way off.
Yeah, seeing as what they did with The Witcher 3, I think that, and they said that game is supposed to be even more expansive. So I think that's going to be a great game. But then after that, The Witcher 4, I mean, what can I say? The Witcher 4 is still holds up as the best game this generation, in my opinion. So I'm glad they're not going to leave the series alone.
Definitely, I agree with you on that. Especially since I'm a huge Witcher fan. Like, I would even go as far as to say I'm even a bigger Witcher fan than I am a Zelda fan at this point, because Breath of the Wild just put a bad taste in my mouth, and The Witcher has.
All right, so
yet
Autumn,
that.
I got a question for you then. With being such a big Witcher fan, have you read any of the books?
Yes, I have.
Okay, good.
I'm that much of a nerd that I read all. I haven't
And
read
yet
all the
you
books, but I
haven't
read
finished
most.
Blood and Wine.
I know.
That's
I know.
all right.
Don't give me no shit about that. Damn it.
I've read all the books, and while they said that not doing a Witcher 4 game would be a disservice to fans, that's not a confirmation that they are doing a Witcher 4 game. That's just kind of saying that it's they're talking about it right now.
Right.
So I feel like they've run out of source material. I think that The Witcher has a strong enough lore that they could probably come up with their own game around it. But I would. I'm a huge fan of the Witcher series, just like you. I read all the books. I played all of the games. Well, I didn't play the first one because I think that was a PC only game.
Oh
man,
but you gotta play. You gotta go back and play the first one though, because I mean it's different. It's so different, but yet it's still kind of satisfying because it's actually a pretty good.
That's not happening. I'm not going back to the first one. I love the second one. I really enjoyed the third one. I would be excited for a fourth one, but until they say it's announced, I'll take it with a grain of salt because just because they say that it would be a disservice to fans doesn't mean that they're necessarily making it right now.
Yeah.
I was going to say that they could, at this point, they could almost get away with completely remaking the first one because it was a PC exclusive. It wasn't a big game. Like, not many people knew of it when it came out. And it's not gonna lie, it looks fucking terrible. It could definitely use it.
Right.
The remake.
It definitely does look terrible. But for its time, it was a good looking game.
Yeah, if they kind of built it from the ground up, like a remaster for the current generations,
it couldn't be a remaster. It'd have to be a remake.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because that combat in the first one, there's no way you would be able to play that on fucking console, man. You would pull your fucking teeth out, man. I'm not even kidding. It's that brutal. I mean, it's challenging, but it's very slow combat, and you would definitely pull your teeth out for sure. Any other thoughts on that?
If they did make a new story from it, it would have to be essentially like a prequel to at least before The Witcher 3, because trying to avoid too many spoilers, because I know Artemis hasn't finished Blood and Wine, and who knows who else hasn't.
God damn it, Tim! But if you spoil that, I swear to God.
It basically wraps up Geralt's story. It kind of is like he's done. He's done as a Witcher. Yeah,
it does. Well, I mean, I haven't finished Blood and Wine, but like me and you were talking about it, Tim, before we got on the podcast, that they could go back and do a prequel to The Witcher, and I think if they did that, they would have to do stuff from the books, and like you were saying, they really came into their own by not focusing on the books but going beyond the books and making a whole new story and things like that.
I'm not as deep in the lore as you guys. I kind of jumped on it with The Witcher 3.
So did I, Baines.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back at some point and try to Witcher 2 because I've actually seen
Blasphemy.
And it's not that bad. It wouldn't be that bad to go back to it right now. So eventually I will go back and play that. This might be a shot in the dark, but what about taking a game from, what was the daughter's name?
Ciri.
So what about making a game with lore built around her? Do you guys
think it's not The Witcher anymore?
Right, it's not The Witcher. Okay. It's not Geralt. It has to be Geralt.
Ciri is also not The Witcher.
Go through all the genetic modification that the Witchers go through in their kind of like what is they have all this genetic modification and all these potions and everything like pumped into them when they're like teenagers. So it's eerily similar to the Halo storyline with Master Chief when it comes to John 117. like, he was heavily modified as a teenager. So the Witcher and Halo, they almost kind of parallel themselves when it comes to that perspective.
Yeah, they are very similar, like just completely opposite ends of like the style spectrum.
Yeah, one's sci-fi, one's fantasy, but they're very similar origin stories. Whereas Ciri, she didn't have all those potions given to her. She's not a Witcher, so having a Witcher 4 story with Ciri as the protagonist, it's not really a Witcher story. It's just a continuation of The Witcher 3. It's like The Witcher 3 Part 2, which I think that would be better served as a DLC rather than a full-fledged sequel.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I maybe they could do it with have Vesemir as the main character and go through some of his backstory.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Like when he's young, like
Yeah,
that would be
and
that would be interesting.
Witchers, they'd live for a really, really long time, so they could go like really far back in the past. But then we're talking about rebooting, and then we're going to get into Geralt coming as like a young pre-teenager coming in. Like I don't know, that gets too complicated. I would like to see them draw their own source material and come up with their own story. Whether that's going to happen or not, who knows?
Yeah. Maka, what do you think? Don't break my heart, man. Don't do it.
No, I won't break your heart. I tend to not be one for speculation. If we're more than 6 months out for this one, we might be more than 6 years out. So I don't know if I have too much to say. I'm sure they'll take care of the franchise. I'm sure they'll deliver a great game. As for speculating what they're going to do with it, I mean, honestly, if we have 5 years, like I would expect them to have to make the next one, there's going to be so many innovations from a gameplay perspective that are possible that we can't even think of, that I really hope they focus on, creating something new, different, and another game of the year type experience like they did with The Witcher 3. And for me to sit here, 5 years before it's out and say what the game needs to be a good game, honestly, I don't know if they even know what that is yet. Right. So, I'll try to stay out of the conversation as someone who is not a diehard Witcher fan. I don't want to stomp on the toes of people who have a lot more respect for the franchise than I do. But I'm sure they'll take care of it, and I'm confident it'll be a great game. And I hope that it's innovative to a certain point, because The Witcher 3 was innovative. That's what made it a great game. And if they go mainstream and forget about what made The Witcher 3 popular, then The Witcher 4 could just be... I think people, when they get The Witcher 4, they'll want a better Witcher and not just more Witcher. And I think the problem would be if they just made more of the same, it wouldn't really it wouldn't do the franchise justice.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, because each one has been a significant step up from the last one.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, just from 1 to 2, it was like, holy shit. And then from 2 to 3, it was like, how the fuck did they do this? Like, it's insane how much they changed with the Witcher 3 from 2 to 3.
And the expectations of gamers, they keep jumping more and more with each sequel. So, yeah, if they were just to do a Witcher 4 game with the Witcher 3 mechanics, that probably wouldn't go over too well.
Yeah. I feel like CD Projekt Red is one of those developers that kind of keeps out of what's popular and that, and they just make the best game that they possibly can.
Definitely. With a small team, too.
Yeah.
Granted. They had really small team working on The Witcher 3. So it's going to be a while before we see Cyberpunk, and it'll be even more of a while if we ever see a Witcher 4.
Yeah, I know that the CD Projekt Red, one of them did an interview, and they've said that the quality they're chasing for is that Grand Theft Auto quality, that powerhouse that nobody fucks with.
Nice. Mm-hmm. Well, on that's the goal. What, Tim?
Don't worry.
Oh. Well, on that note, we're gonna get out of here. We're gonna do some outros here. I'm going to start with Maka91. Where can we find you?
Yo, I have a YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/Maka91 Productions. I make achievement and trophy guides, collectible guides, game walkthroughs, and that kind of stuff. So if you're looking for help in a game, I might help you out if it's something I've covered, especially if you're into achievement hunting or trophy hunting. I'm also on TXR Podcast every Monday night at 10 p.m. We go live, talk about Xbox stuff. And that's about it. I'm waiting for my computer to be fixed from the shop, and I'm very limited with what I'm able to do. So I've been spending my time doing some different things, been gaming a lot, but unfortunately haven't had much of a presence on Twitter and in terms of videos. But hopefully that's all going to turn around. And yeah, I'm excited for E3 and all that. And yeah, that's where you can find me. I occasionally stream on Twitch, or you can find me on Twitter.
Awesome. Mike, where can we find you, buddy?
Hey, everybody here can find me on Twitter. Twitter handle at MagikMike511, Magic with a K. I think that's down in the description below. You can find me on Console Corner every Tuesday night, starting at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And I have a YouTube channel. Not a whole lot going on with that, but occasionally I might upload a video. So if you want to check that out, by all means, go ahead. If not, that's fair too. It's not too frequent with the content.
All right. Tim, where can we find you?
Every week you can find me here on Remix and Luca, who aren't here this week.
Damn, just calling them out.
Shouts out to Luca and Remix.
They'd call me out if I wasn't here. So
that's true.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter, Timidos. You can find me on Xbox at Timidos, and that's about it.
Awesome. I'm your host, Dark Optimus, and absolutely ecstatic having you both here tonight. You, Maka, and Mike. You guys were awesome. Hopefully we can have you guys back on again. And we're out. No, I'm just kidding. Baines, where can we find you, dude?
Hey, it's mbangs99 PlayStation and Xbox, and that's it.
All right. All right, everybody. Have a good night.
Later.